There's nothing more intoxicating or terrifying than love. But here's the truth no one tells you: if you don't know your worth, love will feel like a battlefield. Confidence isn't a luxury in a relationship. It's your survival gear. Without it, you'll shrink to fit someone else's comfort zone. With it, you rise and love rises with you. So let's get real. Let's get raw. Here are 6 truths that will set your self-confidence on fire and change how you love forever. You cannot build self-confidence in a relationship until you know exactly who you are outside of it. That's the truth no one tells you. We grow up being taught how to attract love, how to keep someone interested, how to be what someone else wants. But we're rarely taught to ask, what do I want? Who am I when no one's watching? What makes me proud of myself? What do I value so deeply that I would never compromise it even for love? These questions are not optional. They are the foundation. Because if you don't answer them before you enter a relationship, you lose yourself inside of one. And when you lose yourself, confidence becomes impossible. Too many people shrink in the name of love. They edit their personality. They soften their voice. They second-guess their opinions just to keep the peace. But love that requires you to dim your light is not love. It's control. And the longer you stay in that kind of dynamic, the more disconnected you become from your true self. One day you wake up and realize you don't even recognize your own reflection. Your desires have been buried. Your boundaries erased. You've been so busy being who they wanted that you forgot who were. That is what happens when identity is not solid before intimacy begins. Knowing who you are is not about being rigid or closed off. It's about being rooted. It's the difference between entering a relationship with an open heart versus an open wound. When you're rooted in your identity, you don't seek validation, you share connection. You don't chase, you attract. You're not asking someone to complete you, you're asking, do our lives align? Can we build something together without? It's control. And the longer you stay in that kind of dynamic, the more disconnected you become from your true self. One day you wake up and realize you don't even recognize your own reflection. Your desires have been buried. Your boundaries erased. You've been so busy being who they wanted, you forgot who you were. That is what happens when identity is not solid before intimacy begins. Knowing who you are is not about being rigid or closed off. It's about being rooted. It's the difference between entering a relationship with an open heart versus an open wound. When you're rooted in your identity, you don't seek validation, you share connection. You don't chase, you attract. You're not asking someone to complete you, you're asking, do our lives align? Can we build something together without? You must know your boundaries before someone tests them. You must know your standards before someone tries to lower them. You must know your truth before someone tries to rewrite it. And that knowledge doesn't come from scrolling social media or reading self-help quotes, it comes from doing the real work. Sitting with yourself, facing your fears, naming your patterns, healing your wounds. When you do that, you build an internal compass that no relationship can shake. And that compass, that's your confidence. That's the voice inside you that says, I am enough. I know what I deserve. I know who I am. Real love doesn't fear a strong identity. It thrives alongside it. The right partner will not be intimidated by your certainty, they will celebrate it. Because a healthy relationship is not two halves becoming whole. It is. Your voice is not just a sound, it's your essence. It carries your beliefs, your needs, your fears, your boundaries. And yet, in relationships, so many people lose that voice. Not because they're weak, but because they've been conditioned to believe that silence keeps the peace, that shrinking keeps the love. They bite their tongues, they swallow their pain, they nod in agreement when their heart is screaming no. But let me be clear, every time you silence yourself to make someone else comfortable, a piece of your confidence dies. Speaking without fear isn't a luxury, it's an act of survival. So why don't we speak up? Because we're afraid. Afraid of being misunderstood. Afraid of being called dramatic. Afraid of scaring them away. We convince ourselves that being agreeable is being loving, that our needs are burdens, that our opinions are too much, but that fear, that hesitation, it builds walls between who we really are and who we're pretending to be. And those walls, they don't protect the relationship, they poison it. Love can't thrive where truth is suffocated. And confidence. Confidence cannot grow where your voice is constantly buried. Speaking your truth isn't about being loud. It's about being real. It's about looking someone in the eye and saying, this is what I feel. This is what I need. This is what I will not tolerate. That kind of honesty is terrifying. But it's also magnetic. Because when you speak with authenticity, you give the other person a chance to see the real you. And if they can't handle the real you, then the relationship was never solid to begin with. Confidence comes from knowing that your voice matters even if it shakes, even if it's rejected, even if it makes waves. The right partner won't be threatened by your truth. They won't dismiss it. They won't mock it. They'll listen, lean in, and try to understand it. Because in a healthy relationship, your voice isn't a disruption, it's a bridge. A bridge that builds connection, that fosters growth, that creates mutual respect. You cannot build trust in silence. You cannot build intimacy through pretending. The moment you stop expressing yourself is the moment you start erasing yourself. And once that happens, you stop being a partner, you become a shadow. There's a dangerous myth that if you love someone enough, they'll just know what you need. That real connection doesn't require explanation. That true love means never having to say anything out loud. But that's not romantic, it's reckless. Because love is not mind reading. Love is communication. It's clarity. It's being brave enough to say, this is hurting me, or this brings me joy, or this is something I can't accept. When you speak up, you take ownership of your experience. You stop waiting to be rescued. You stop blaming others for your silence. And in that moment, your confidence starts to rise. There's a dangerous myth that if you love someone enough, they'll just know what you need. That real connection doesn't require explanation. That true love means never having to say anything out loud. But that's not romantic, it's reckless. Because love is not mind reading. Love is communication. It's clarity. It's being brave enough to say, this is hurting me, or this brings me joy, or this is something I can't accept. When you speak up, you take ownership of your experience. You stop waiting to be rescued. You stop blaming others for your silence. And in that moment, your confidence starts to rise. Confidence isn't found in how perfectly you deliver your message. It's found in your willingness to speak despite the discomfort. It's in the courage to risk conflict for the sake of honesty. It's in knowing that your feelings are not up for debate. When you stop apologizing for having needs, when you stop shrinking your truth to keep someone, you reclaim your power. That's when love becomes a choice, not a performance. And that's when self-confidence stops being a theory and becomes your reality. So many people enter relationships carrying one quiet, dangerous question. Am I enough question? And instead of answering it for themselves, they hand that question to someone else. They wait for a partner to fill the void, to heal the wound, to grant them the permission to feel worthy. But here's the truth that cuts deep: no one can give you the worth you refuse to claim for yourself. Love cannot fix what self-love has abandoned. If you don't believe you are enough on your own, you will constantly mold yourself to be enough for someone else. And that's not confidence. That's desperation wearing a smile. When your sense of value depends on someone's attention, you become a performer in your own life. You edit your truth to be more likable. You downplay your dreams to avoid intimidating them. You stay quiet when something hurts just to avoid pushing them away. And in doing that, you're not building a relationship, you're building a prison with invisible bars. The more you seek permission to feel like you matter, the more you become addicted to their validation. And the second they withhold it, your confidence crumbles. That is the trap. And the only way out is to realize you don't need to be version to be valuable. You already are. Confidence in a relationship begins with the radical belief that you are whole even when you are alone. It's the unshakable truth that you do not have to earn love by sacrificing yourself. That you are not better only when someone approves of you. That you do not need to become smaller, quieter, prettier, more agreeable, more accommodating, more anything to be worthy of affection. Confidence is the quiet fire inside that says, "This is me." And that is enough. When you live from that truth, you stop asking others to complete you. You invite them to meet you, not fix you. Think about how many times you've told yourself, "When I lose weight, then I'll be more attractive. When I become more successful, then I'll be lovable." And the second they withhold it, your confidence crumbles. That is the trap. And the only way out is to realize you don't need to be chosen to be valuable. You already are. Confidence in a relationship begins with the radical belief that you are whole even when you are alone. It's the unshakable truth that you do not have to earn love by sacrificing yourself. That you are not better only when someone approves of you. That you do not need to become smaller, quieter, prettier, more agreeable, more accommodating, more come to be worthy of affection. Confidence is the quiet fire inside that says, "This is me." And that is enough. When you live from that truth, you stop asking others to complete you. You invite them to meet you, not fix you. Think about how many times you've told yourself, "When I lose weight, then I'll be more attractive. When I become more successful, then I'll be lovable. When I stop being too emotional, too intense, too sensitive, then someone will stay." That internal waiting game destroys your spirit. Because you're constantly placing your worth somewhere in the future, somewhere beyond your reach. But your confidence isn't waiting for a version of you that doesn't exist yet. It's waiting for you to accept the version of you that's already here. Right now, fully flawed, fully human, and fully deserving. And what happens when you start living from that place? Everything shifts. You no longer panic when someone pulls away. You no longer beg for reassurance. You no longer let their moods define your value. Because deep down, you know enough before they came into your life, and you will still be enough if they walk away. That's not arrogance. That's liberation. That's the kind of confidence that doesn't scream. It just is. And when you carry that, people feel it. You don't have to chase respect. You don't have to demand love. You embody it, and that energy draws in what's real. So stop asking for permission to take up space. Stop waiting to be told that you're worthy. Your life, your story, your voice, they all matter right now, not later. You don't need a title to be valuable. You don't need approval to be powerful. Confidence isn't something you perform. It's something you decide. The day you stop waiting for someone to tell you that you're enough is the day you finally become unstoppable. That's when relationships stop being a lifeline and start being a choice. A beautiful, powerful, mutual choice. There's a dangerous illusion many people mistake for love intensity. The highs that feel euphoric, the fights that feel passionate, the jealousy that's mistaken for care. We grow up watching movies and songs that teach us that if it isn't chaotic, isn't real. That the more possessive someone is, the more they must love you. That love should make your heart race not in excitement but in anxiety. But let's be brutally honest, intensity is not intimacy. Just because someone makes your heart beat faster doesn't mean they're good for it. Sometimes what we call passion is actually trauma in disguise. Jealousy doesn't mean someone loves you, it often means they don't trust you or themselves. Control isn't protection, it's fear wearing armor. Constant arguments followed by passionate make-up moments don't reflect deep connection, they reveal emotional instability. Real intimacy doesn't live in volatility. It lives in safety, consistency, respect. But when you've never experienced calm, healthy love, you start to confuse chaos for connection. You start to believe that walking on eggshells is part of romance, that being afraid to speak up is just how love works. And that belief, it keeps you trapped in a cycle that slowly destroys your confidence. Confidence in a relationship comes when you can breathe, not brace. It comes when your heart feels safe, not suffocated. When you don't have to monitor your tone, your timing, your every word just to avoid setting them off. When you don't have to perform calmness to prevent explosions. You deserve a love that doesn't drain you. A love that doesn't feel like survival. A love where you can exhale fully, freely, finally. That's not boring. That's healthy. And that's where self-confidence grows, in spaces where you don't have to fear being yourself. But the truth is, if you've lived through toxic love, healthy love might feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable at first. It won't trigger your nervous system. It won't come with highs so high they make you dizzy. And it won't make you question your worth every 5 minutes. Healthy love is steady. It's gentle. It's clear. It communicates. It allows room for growth without punishment. And when you're confident in yourself, you won't mistake the absence of chaos for the absence of love. You'll understand that true intimacy is about presence, not pressure. When you are secure in who you are, you stop chasing the emotional roller coasters. You stop romanticizing unpredictability. You stop calling dysfunction fate. Confidence teaches you to walk away from relationships that confuse love with control. It teaches you to stop begging for consistency from people who thrive on emotional unpredictability. It reminds you that you don't need to prove your worth by surviving someone's dysfunction. Love shouldn't feel like a war zone. It should feel like coming home to yourself and someone meeting you there. Oh, no mistaking possessiveness for passion. No more glamorizing chaos. No more accepting pain just because it comes wrapped in intensity. If someone needs to keep you anxious to keep you close, that is not love. That is manipulation. And when your confidence is rooted in self-respect, you won't stay. You'll see it for what it is. You'll recognize that calm love, respectful love, honest love is the only love that deserves you. And when you hold that standard, you stop being afraid of being alone. Because you finally realize that anything less than real intimacy is a distraction from the love you actually deserve. Let's talk about boundaries, one of the most misunderstood and undervalued acts of self-respect in any romantic relationship. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that setting boundaries means being cold, selfish, or too much. That if you really love someone, you'll let things slide. You'll tolerate discomfort. You'll keep the peace, even if it costs your peace of mind. But here's the truth, no one tells you boundaries are not barriers to love, they are the foundation of it. You cannot build a healthy relationship without boundaries. And you cannot have true self-confidence if you're constantly abandoning yourself to make someone else feel secure. A confident person doesn't draw boundaries to control others, they draw boundaries to protect their own energy, time, and emotional well-being. And that protection is not a defense mechanism, it's a declaration. This is what I allow in my life. This is what I refuse to tolerate. Boundaries aren't about pushing people away. They're about letting the right people come closer, people who can meet you in your truth, not manipulate you out of it. When you have strong boundaries, you stop living in reaction to others. You stop over-explaining. You stop seeking permission. You begin living from a place of clarity and inner alignment. And yes, setting boundaries will trigger some people, especially those who benefited from your lack of them. They'll call you difficult. They'll say you've changed. They might even accuse you of being distant or unfair. Let them. Your job is not to manage their discomfort. Your job is to stand in your truth, even when it makes others uncomfortable. Because every time you honor your boundaries, you're sending a message to yourself: I matter, my needs matter, my peace matters. That message rewires your self-worth. It strengthens your confidence from the inside out. The beautiful thing about boundaries is that they reveal what someone truly values, not just in words, but in behavior. A partner who respects your boundaries isn't just proving they care about you. They're showing you they can love you without trying to control you. That's not weakness, that's emotional maturity. And when you come from a place of confidence, you can spot the difference immediately. You no longer mistake intensity for interest. You no longer see guilt trips as love. You stop falling for people who only give affection when you're silent and obedient. Instead, you align with those who see your strength and honor it. Boundaries also clarify your own patterns. When you start setting them, you begin to realize how often you've been bending, breaking, compromising, not out of love, but out of fear. Fear of being left, fear of being alone, fear of confrontation. But here's the reality: a relationship built on fear is already broken. And the moment you choose to speak your boundary instead of swallowing your truth, you start healing that fear. You teach yourself that love and sacrifice are not the same thing. That peace does not require pain. That saying no can be the most loving thing you do, not just for you, but for the relationship. So if you want to build real confidence in a romantic relationship, start by defining what's non-negotiable. Write it down. Speak it clearly. Live it daily. Not from a place of anger or control, but from a place of deep, unshakable self-respect. The right person will rise to meet your standards, not ask you to lower them. Because when you hold your boundaries with grace and strength, you don't just protect your relationship, you protect your sense of self. And that protection is where confidence is born, nurtured, and sustained. Confidence doesn't mean being perfect. It doesn't mean having all the answers or never making mistakes. In fact, one of the most powerful forms of self-confidence is the ability to own your flaws without shame. Because here's the truth: you're not meant to be flawless, you're meant to be real. And real is messy. Real is complicated. Real comes with, say, insecurities and wounds that haven't all healed. But when you walk into a relationship pretending you have it all together, you build a connection based on performance, not truth. And truth is the only thing that holds when everything else is tested. We live in a culture that glorifies the idea of being low maintenance, of not needing too much, of always being cool, chill, easygoing. As if suppressing your emotions somehow makes you more desirable. But denying your complexity doesn't make you confident, it makes you invisible. Confidence is the ability to look someone in the eye and say, yes, I have baggage. Yes, I have triggers, and I'm working through them. But I am still worthy of love exactly as I am. That's real courage. Because anyone can fake confidence, but to stand tall in your imperfections, that takes strength most people never tap into. When you stop trying to be perfect, you give others permission to show up authentically too. You create space for vulnerability. And that's where real intimacy grows, not in the highlight reel, but in the behind the scenes. In the late night conversations. In the I'm struggling moments. In the I don't know how to fix this, but I'm here kind of love. When you show your true self, scars, fears, all of it, you give the relationship a chance to breathe, to be built on something real. And from that realness, trust is born. From that trust, confidence flourishes. But here's the key: vulnerability without boundaries isn't confidence. It's self-abandonment. You don't owe your raw self to just anyone. Confidence means being discerning. It means knowing who has earned the right to see your unfiltered truth and who hasn't. It's not about hiding. It's about protecting your peace. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your process. Not everyone deserves access to your heart just because they're curious. Confidence is not just about what you share, it's about what you choose not to. And yes, people will sometimes misunderstand your openness. They'll mistake your honesty for weakness. They'll see your cracks and think it makes you less whole. But that says more about them than it ever will about you. Because the right person won't just accept your imperfections, they'll respect how you face them. They'll admire your courage to keep showing up, even when it's hard. And they'll love you not in spite of your flaws, but because of the way you wear them with truth, not apology. That's the kind of connection that can only be built when confidence comes from within, not from approval, not from praise, but from knowing your own worth. So don't strive to be perfect in your relationship. Strive to be honest. Strive to be self-aware. Strive to keep growing while still honoring who you already are. Because confidence isn't found in how well you hide your broken parts, it's found in how boldly you embrace them. In how you continue to choose love without abandoning yourself. In how you show up flawed, fierce, and fully present. That's not weakness. That's power. And that power is what makes love not only possible but profoundly real. Remember this, self-confidence in a romantic relationship is not about perfection, control, or bending yourself to fit someone else's expectations. It's about standing unapologetically in your truth, owning your worth, and speaking your needs without fear. It's about choosing love that lifts you up, not tears you down. The journey isn't always easy. There will be moments of doubt, moments when your voice trembles. Moments when the old fears try to pull you back. But every time you reclaim yourself, you step closer to the love you truly deserve. Confidence is not something you find, it's something you create moment by moment, choice by choice. So dare to be bold. Dare to be honest. Dare to set boundaries and demand respect. Dare to show up fully, imperfect and powerful. Because when you do, you transform not just your relationship, but the entire story you tell yourself about love and about who you are. The love that comes from that place of confidence is not fragile, it's fierce. Not temporary, it's lasting. Not dependent, it's free. And that kind of love, it changes everything.